Hello everyone and welcome aboard. Today we're on the outskirts of the Newport Beach Fun Zone. You see a little Ferris wheel right there. And for those of you that are interested in sport fishing, you might recognize the area as the Newport Landing, but we're not here to do any fishing today. Instead, we have a boat review for you. A boat review on a vessel that's more popular than probably both the Fun Zone and the Landing combined. That's right, it's a Tiara.
Tiara, 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 with JakeSea.
Quite possibly the most popular boat I will have on this channel next to the Sea Ray. This 2001 Tiara 3500 was lent to me by Balboa Boat Rentals. It is also being offered by Newport Yachts, two great family-owned businesses here in Newport Beach. For those of you that want to catch up on the JakeSea lore, Balboa Boat Rentals was actually one of my first jobs. That's where I learned how to sling boats and drive slinging rentals and playing bumper boats with all my friends down here on the water. So now let's get into the review of this Tiara 3500, and as always, these reviews are brought to you by SetSailMarine.com. SetSailMarine.com is the newest, the most futuristic, and the best place you can go to sell, buy, or find people to work on your boat. Get answers to all your boating questions by asking our resident AI professional sailor, and get 50% off any of your listing needs with the code JakeSea. Now, I always start these walkthroughs on the outside of the vessel, and this Tiara will be no different. The only difference this time is that you guys are going to see the best part about this Tiara in the first minute of this video. That's right, no hiding the good stuff until the end. Makes me a good presenter, but a bad YouTuber. And the best part about this Tiara, and all Tiaras for the most part, are its size. The reason I say that the best thing about this boat is its size is because it's a Tiara 3500. And if you're familiar with boats, you might think, all right, so it's 33 feet, maybe 34 feet, but it's advertised correctly. It is actually 35 feet and 8 inches, so a little bit over its 3500 model name. And allegedly, according to boats.com, that doesn't include the stern over here, swim step, or the little bow pulpit on the front. And if you include those things, you actually get 42 feet overall length, which is pretty impressive. And to be honest with you, I'm not quite sure if I believe it might be accurate. I mean, that's about 1 foot, 2 feet, call it almost 3 feet. That brings us up to 38. Maybe we start counting here. That's another foot, 2, 3, 4, an extra 7 feet. Maybe it gets up to that 42, I'm not entirely sure, but it does appear to get up to that 35 at least and stand up to its model name. No false advertising here. In addition to its length, this vessel has a 13.8 foot beam, which makes it thick. For comparison, my 29-foot boat has an 11-foot beam. If we were to pretend that these were squares and not boats for a moment, that would mean that this thing has a 34% higher square footage than my boat and only 18% more length. Or, in less confusing terms, it is a big boat for its size. And with Tiara's reputation for quality, this boat feels like a big boat. Nothing on this boat feels flimsy. Before we jump aboard, let's take a look at that bow shape. Pretty traditional style bow here, no axe, no straight up and down, no maximizing interior space, just a traditional boat with good lines. A very pretty vessel in my opinion. I really like how the sides come down here and have those vents carved into it, as well as where the arch is. I think it's a really pretty boat. I think that lots of people agree with me, that's why they're so popular. Now let's actually go aboard. First thing you notice when you jump aboard this Tiara 3500 is there is a tender on board with a little davit, but we're not here to review this boat. We are here to review this boat, and you can see the swim step, pretty sizable, little ladder down there underneath the davit, and there's a nice little cutout here with a very small step up to enter the rear cockpit. A little bit off center towards the starboard, this door here, you come into the rear cockpit, and this is where differences between the Express and the Open start to happen. Now the Open, it has a little bit different offerings in terms of the height of the rail, the bolsters around the outside of the rail, as well as some other small changes to make the 3500 more of a fishing vessel and the Express more of a cruising vessel. One of the highlights of these Tiaras is how easy they are to use and operate, and it's immediately apparent when you step into even the cockpit. Back here on the stern, we have a garage that you can actually fit this outboard and probably the tender in as well if it wasn't rigid bottomed. Over here on the port side, we have fresh and raw water inlets. Over here, we have a raw water hose and pump area. Back here, we have storage. In here, we have for cups, and here just basic storage for cleaning supplies like that towel there. A nice little seat on this side. Down here on the starboard side, we have all our shore power cables. We have room for a boat hook. And then we have a freshwater hose over here, both hot and cold. As we move forward onto the bow, there's rails to grab onto right here, painted with the rest of the arch. We'll see just a pretty nice simple bow, a nice rounded hump here so that water runs down the side of the vessel and not over the middle. Here we have one simple anchor locker, buttons that you can step on for up and down for the low Franz windlass, and a seamlessly designed bow pulpit that looks like it is supposed to be there with its nav lights up there on top. If we look at the front windshield, we see that it's hydraulic actuated so you can lift it up to let in some air. We have some windshield wipers, and we get a good glimpse at the top here, not a flybridge, an express boat with the radar, some hatches to let air in, horn, VHF, stern and anchor light, and on the other side, a little cable for the TV. Off of the rear cockpit, moving forward, entering the helm area, you have a little sink over to starboard here with a nice little cutting board, some cup holders. On your port side, you have some semi-wraparound seating here with a seat that is also removable right there. We have a sliding door to enter and exit the little salon area, as well as a little chart and storage compartment up here. On the starboard, that's where your helm's located. You have old school controls, gears and throttles, separate from each other, which is something that I like personally. Sometimes the new electronic throttles get a little too touchy for me. All of our gauges up on the dash here, not completely electronic yet. We have our Garmin chart plotter right there, Simrad autopilot, standard horizon VHF radio, all the switches you need right here in front of you on buttons, as well as all of the little fuses for those switches right there. Breakers, as you will. Fireboy suppression system, engine air preheat if you're in a cold environment, ignition's over here. And then on this side, we have some controls for the seat I'm sitting on, as well as some AC and stereo controls. Overall, a really simple and easy to use helm cockpit layout. As we head down into the salon now, we have 3 stairs, plenty of head clearance even for somebody my height. If we look over to the starboard side, we have a little dinette area as well as all of our controls up here on the wall, your AC system, and then your DC system over to the left. Little infotainment stuff here along the bottom. If we move forward, we will find a little window here that we can open and look into the, if I know how to use a cabinet, to open up the room a little bit more. Forward of that is the only, I guess you could call it a suite here on this Tiara. Just a V-berth little cabin here. To your right and your starboard side, you have some closet space. And to your port, you have a little bit more storage down here for things like linens, clothes, whatever you might have. Above is a hatch, which is actually quite sizable. I'd say it's about 18 inches, so it gives you a lot of space there for some sunlight. On the port side, we have a little kitchen, galley area, and we have a small sink. We have a little stovetop here, porthole there, storage there kind of separated from the rest of it. Over here we have a microwave, small television, and then a refrigerator and freezer system down below. And then the final thing down here in this cabin is a pretty spacious head actually. It has its own porthole, and it's one of those wet showers where you just kind of shower in the restroom itself, and doesn't matter what you get wet, it's made to drain. So pretty sizable. And just like that, we've seen the entire boat. As you can see, I can stand up down here, which is pretty nice, especially for a boat that's 35 feet. My boat, I can't stand at all, that one's 30 feet. So the other good part about having a 35-foot boat is it makes for a quick boat review video. So the last thing to do is to jump down in the engine compartment, see how much space is down there, do the Christian test, and then jump into the stars for this boat. Now, some of you who are familiar with Tiaras might be wondering how this Christian test was gonna go this entire video. Well, I'm gonna spoil it for you and tell you I'm gonna cheat. If you don't know what I mean when I say I'm gonna cheat and you're not familiar with Tiaras, well, this is what I'm gonna do. In the center of the boat, there's a hatch that appears to have some space, but overall doesn't appear to be all that pleasant. So instead of going and doing the Christian test down there, I am going to cheat. And what I mean by that is I'm gonna shut this, lock that up, come over to this little seat right here. I'm going to remove this. I'm now gonna head back to the rear cockpit where we started this boat review. And right here above the boat hook, there's a little switch that says lift. I'm going to push that. I'm going to try to move the camera to this proper position. And as you can see, there's a hydraulic lift that lifts the entire helm station of this Tiara and gives you full access to the engine room. Just like that, the helm station has been lifted up out of the way. We have full access to the entire engine room now. And at the cost of trusting our life with these hydraulic struts here, we now have the convenience of space. So overall, good cushion test, it passes. We can reach everything we need in this engine room now. Easy peasy. A couple things you may as well mention while we have this up. 2 diesel engines, Cummins 6BTs right here, as well as 1 little generator down there in the middle painted red. Batteries on each side, Fireboy system up there, some chargers, some fuel water separators, you know, everything that comes in a boat. These engines are straight shaft right out the back. That's why they're kind of centered to the beam of the vessel right here. Overall, easy cushion test. Now, before we get into the stars of this vessel, let's go over a brief summary of it. It is a Tiara 2001 3500. It has twin Cummins 6BT diesel engines that have 370 horsepower each, bringing it to a total of 740 horsepower. It cruises at about 20 knots with a top speed of about 25 knots. It has a diesel fuel tank that holds 350 gallons and a freshwater tank that holds 120 gallons. Now, just a reminder, these stars are from 1 to 10, with 10 being the highest, 1 being the lowest, and 5 being average. This isn't high school. 7 is an average. C's not passing here. And if you want to get all of the star totals for this boat as well as other boats, you can go ahead and see those at JakeSea.com. The lowest score this vessel got was in performance. It received a 6 for performance, which is still above average. The reason it received a 6 for performance is it's not incredibly fast. However, when you have a boat that has good quality, is heavy, is comfortable, those type of things like speed kind of end up getting pushed down a little bit. Its high points were in quality and value. It got an 8 in both of those categories. The reason it got an 8 in quality is because it is built to be very sturdy. Everyone that's ever been on Tiara can feel the quality of it in everything they touch. Nothing bends, nothing's flimsy, really well-built vessels. For value, it gets an 8 because pretty much anyone who wants a Tiara could go out of their way to try to afford a Tiara. They go for about 100, low hundreds if you're looking for diesel models. They're kind of high 70s to 90s if you're looking for gas models, maybe even some in the 60s. Either way, if you're a boater and you really, really want a Tiara, odds are you can get your hands on one. For that reason, it gets an 8. That brings the total stars for this vessel to 36. Once again, if you'd like to see the rest of the categories, you can find them here and on JakeSea.com, so go ahead and check those out. Overall, Tiara's really great vessels, one of my favorite. I know they're really popular, at least where I'm from. Let me know what you guys think about Tiaras in the comments down below. You could find the descriptions and links to everything I mentioned in this video down there below as well. And thank you for watching. Smooth sailing.